like I said, thank you everyone for jumping on this morning for our Otter County quarterly workforce convening. We're excited for today's speakers. We got a full lineup of speakers today, so really excited to hear from them on some different workforce programs and training available. So we'll start off, as we always do, we'll do a quick overview of the OTC workforce, OTC Works workforce strategy. Just to kind of create that baseline again, our convenings are an opportunity to convene all of our partners, employers, workforce agencies, to really kind of talk about, as we've been facing for a number of years, the workforce challenges and solutions that are out there. So, but then, like I said, we've got a full lineup of speakers today. Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber folks that will join us and talk about some federal funding from the Good Jobs Challenge that they have. And then second, we're going to turn it to Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. We're pretty familiar with them from our YST Youth Skills Training Grant, but they also have an apprenticeship program that they're going to talk about. And then speaking of YST, we've got our 3 schools, Fergus Falls, Perham, and Parker's Prairie, that were all awarded youth skills training grants in the most recent round. They are joining us today to talk about this school year and work-based learning and career exploration and how employers can engage with some of the work they're doing this year. So we'll hopefully have some time at the end for Q&A and discussion, but as questions come up, feel free to drop those in the chat. And then just to start us off, so our OTC Works workforce strategy, as we've talked about before, we break that down into 3 actions where we feel like Otter County can really play a role. The first one being promoting the availability of jobs with family sustaining wages and some of those workforce resources that are available in the county. Second one is kind of in that area of best practices and helping our employers promote their opportunities in the best way they can, and then recruit and retain more workers more effectively. And then that third action area that the county spends I would say the bulk of our time under is creating those partnerships to improve occupational readiness, reduce barriers to employment, and then looking at kind of our youth workforce and the future workforce, aligning those skills for those future needs. So with that baseline, like I mentioned, we've got some new partners from the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber, who, like I said, they were awarded federal funding from the EDA in this program called Good Jobs Challenge. And we actually just recently learned about the program as well and felt like it was a really good fit. Contrary to belief, they are able to serve Otter County, even though it's the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber. So that was really positive to hear, and wanted to invite them on today to kind of share about that opportunity. So with that, I will turn it over to Jane and her team.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And I believe you're driving our slideshow. So
Yes.
So we'll hopefully everything translated over well. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Jane Bangsness-Frisch, and I have the opportunity to serve as the Vice President of Workforce for the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber. And I think a logical question before I turn it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves is, why is the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber having a conversation with Otter County? Well, first and foremost, we know and understand that what is good for greater Minnesota and what's good for greater North Dakota is good for the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo region. Frankly, we know that. But we also had the opportunity 2 years ago with the Economic Development Administration to obtain an award, a $9.62 million award, to help upward mobility and fulfilling our workforce needs in our entire region. That includes all of northern Minnesota, which includes obviously the lovely Otter County, and inclusive of all of the state of North Dakota. So this is a large opportunity. So Sarah, I'll have you flip over to the next slide, but as you're doing that, Brenna, if you would be willing to kind of just hop on and introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. I'm Brenna Johansson. I serve as the Industry Relations Coordinator here at the Chamber, so work really closely with Jane and a couple other team members on our workforce initiatives, specifically the Good Jobs Challenge.
And I believe Melissa is on as well.
Yes, I sure am, Jane. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Marshall. I'm the owner of Dale Carnegie of North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. And Dale Carnegie gets to be one of the partners with the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Area Chamber Foundation in the Good Jobs Challenge. We have the same footprint as this grant can cover. And so we've been able to walk alongside the Chamber Foundation and help upskill people throughout our community and including in Perham using funds through the Good Jobs Challenge. So I'm here to share.
Great, and we're going to hear more from Melissa here in a little bit about some opportunity and some really a couple wins that we've had already with the Good Jobs Challenge. So as I mentioned previously, this is an award through the Economic Development Administration. Really, the focus is powering regional competitiveness and inclusive economic growth. So really expanding those equitable job opportunities across all individuals and communities, and being really worker-centered, employer-led, to have those highly functioning training systems within our community. We were one of 32 awarded. There was a total of 509 applicants. Sarah, we'll go to the next slide. So our main goal is to upskill and enhance our regional workforce by 900 individuals from historically excluded or underrepresented populations throughout our region. So really, we are trying to reach over 900 individuals. In fact, our award is expanded to just over 1,000 individuals. So we're very excited for that as well. So I think the question is, okay, so we said that we're trying to get 900 people into a good paying job. So what does that good paying job really look like? Well, what's interesting, and I think there's some misconceptions around this award, is that it's about upward mobility for those individuals that are within an organization or company, or that are being onboarded or seeking opportunities. And so upward mobility in a current position or a future position, and what we're striving for is over $45,000. There has been some discussion that an individual does not have to make less than $45,000 to qualify for the Good Jobs Challenge. So it's that striving for $45,000 a year or above. Not used to someone else driving my slides, so I'll just say that. So also want to just note, Brenna, to please hop in if you feel like I missed anything. But we are serving 3 major industry sectors with our Good Jobs Challenge award funds. They include advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, and information technology, or IT, and precision ag throughout the continuum of agriculture to all the way to food. And so really what that means is those 3 areas, as you can imagine, especially within Otter County, is very broad. And so a lot of, we're finding a lot of individuals are qualifying because of those 3 main sectors. In fact, we have one employer that literally hits all 3. So we know that that's pretty broad. Those 3 sectors were chosen because those were our highest need, not only through data, but through inclusive discussions that occurred prior to the grant application being submitted. So who do we serve? So who is eligible for being a part of the Good Jobs Challenge? Individuals that identify as new Americans or immigrants, individuals that have served our country, either currently as service members or identify as veterans, people of color, those that identify as a part of First Nations or Indigenous, individuals that identify as Black, or any other BIPOC community is eligible. Along with women in technology and justice involved. I'll get back to high school students in a second here, but justice involved is also something that I want to pull out. Justice involved is not only those individuals that have they themselves been engaged in the justice system, whether that be through serving time in prison or jail, or had long-term probation or house arrest type of involvement, but this also includes 1 degree of separation from those individuals that are justice involved. So for instance, if my father was incarcerated, I would qualify for the Good Jobs Challenge. And then high school students are also eligible. Within our entire region, high school students are also considered an underserved population. We are seeking those students and those students that are going to be going directly into the workforce right after high school. So usually those individuals that identify as seniors in high school would be eligible also for the Good Jobs Challenge. So really, what does this mean? Participants receive, once the eligibility is determined, participants can receive up to $5,000 to go toward not only their education and training costs, but in addition to some of those barrier costs that we're seeing. This can fund everything from daycare to costs that are associated with transportation and everything in between. With the federal government, there's always caveats. No offense to those that are on the call that work for the federal government, but there's always those asterisks that apply. Housing is one of them. In addition, we are not able to pay for an in-house trainer if there wouldn't be typically costs associated with that training, if that makes sense. But we can help with some of those barrier costs. A good example of this would be if an individual is seeking an upskill and maybe they typically work first shift and they're trying to obtain an additional certification, and that training is offered at second shift and they need help with daycare costs, we can assist with that. So an individual completes that online eligibility form. That is a self-identification eligibility form that's very short and accessible. It is less than 10 questions. And then the individual enrolls or engaged with an educational or training program. So the one thing that I want to explain is there's two funnels into the Good Jobs Challenge. A lot of you on this call might be thinking of a cohort at your business or organization that might fit within the Good Jobs Challenge initiative. Maybe you're trying to upskill, 5 of your individuals. We would encourage you to connect with one of our training and education partners, which we'll talk about who those organizations are in a minute here. To obtain that training, you would ask all 5 of those individuals to complete the online eligibility form. We would determine eligibility. More than likely, not all 5 would qualify, or maybe they would. And then we're able to deploy those funds and work collaboratively with the education and training partner to ensure that they have the ability to gain the resources, and we can directly pay for that training. No direct payments go to the trainee or employee. They go directly to the vendors that provide that. And then really our goal is to help them achieve goals and fulfill our workforce needs. Brenda, do you want to talk about some of our partners?
Yeah, so this is our current list, and it's always growing. We actually have added 2 since the slide was made. But we, in each of our industries, have what we call a backbone partner. And so these are businesses who have been with us since the very beginning and kind of champion each industry. So Emerging Prairie and Grand Farm do our cybersecurity and IT and precision ag. And NDSCS is our backbone partner for manufacturing. And then we work very closely with M State. We currently do welding and CDL, and we're looking to add more with them. IT is on the biz blocks, University of Mary, and then as Melissa will share, we are partnering with Dale Carnegie for different leadership courses, and so I'll save that for her. So.
The other thing I want to note is the 2 new partners that we have are Lennis Welding. Some of you may be familiar with them. They do some very customized training, maybe even for some of your business or organizations, along with Generator, which is an online platform that provides training in project management along with IT and cybersecurity. We are also in discussions with Valley City State University and Bismarck State, getting very close, and I know they would be okay with me sharing that opportunity. So I think we'll flip to the next slide, Sarah. So how have we done so far? We have about 200 participants in our funnel. We have 25 that have been placed in jobs, 160 we anticipate within the next 12 months. And frankly, we're striving for triple that. And I think we will achieve that with the assistance of all of you and getting all the information out, and so appreciative of this opportunity. we are seeing some really great results with our employees as well. Median salary placements as of right now, just under 49,000 for those in manufacturing and 52,000 for those in cybersecurity and IT. So I wanted to just pause there, and if you want to advance the slide, Sarah, we can just go back. Go forward again. I just want to make sure we have enough time for to talk about really what does this look like. So what would be the next steps if individuals wanted to engage? And then I want to invite Melissa to talk more about her experience. But really, how can you engage with us? You can reach out to us. Also, we're working very closely with Sarah and others in Otter County, so we can make sure we can get this information deployed. But if you identify a cohort of employees, as I mentioned before, seeking upskilling, you can ask them to submit applications. You can also commit to engaging or interviewing GJC participants. We also have individuals that come into the Good Jobs Challenge program as individuals, right, that heard about our program, that may be looking for a career change, or through a temp agency have identified that this could be an opportunity for them to upskill. We don't have a lot of those, but they're sometimes place bound, and we've seen them place bound in Minnesota. And so we may be reaching out to all of you if you're interested in committing to helping hire some of those trained up individuals. And then also, if you have any current training that you're providing and you didn't see your education and training provider listed there, we can include them or at least reach out to them and get them approved as a GJC education and training partner. So again, I think this is really about if you have individuals in your organization that you would like to upskill or that you're currently upskilling, and that you, after that upskilling, they will see an upward mobility or track to the next level, that we hope that you'll talk with us. But I wanted to just now turn it over to Melissa. I know there's just one slide for Melissa here to talk about her experience and really what she can provide. But again, Melissa is one of many of our education and training partners, but she's already had a success with an Otter County company. Melissa?
Thank you, Jane. I am thrilled to be able to be a partner of the Good Jobs Challenge and the Chamber Foundation, because it really is simple to identify potential participants and also figure out whether or not they qualify and work with the chamber to be able to have this upskilling opportunity funded directly through the grant. We've been able to work with the Chamber Foundation in a variety of different ways, both by having participants identify their desire to take programs through our public cohorts. And so we worked very closely with the Chamber to work with these participants through the application process. And truly, it is a very simple form that is online, and the team at the Chamber does such a good job of determining eligibility in a timely manner so that each participant and their employer can determine what those next steps are and get them in the appropriate program. So we've had both those who the Chamber has passed over to us and those that we have identified as prospective participants that would qualify for Good Jobs Challenge funding. In fact, we just had one, I think it was last week or the week before, and we worked with that employer partner to have their prospective team member apply. And within just a couple of days, we got the affirmation and approval back. And so this participant from beginning to end will started the application process and will be experiencing the upskilling opportunity through the Dale Carnegie program within 3 weeks. So truly simple. Now there's another chance that we can partner with you and your teams. We did this with KLN recently this past summer. We brought in a Spanish speaking trainer. That's one of the joys of working with a global training organization. We were able to bring a Spanish speaking trainer to Perham to deliver the Dale Carnegie course to their Spanish speaking team members. What we did in this instance was truly go through and identify who would be eligible for Good Jobs Challenge funding, and then the Chamber Foundation through the grant they were able to pay for each of those enrollments. Now, the remainder, like Jane said, not everyone is probably going to qualify. So then we work directly with KLN to have a separate invoice and send that directly to KLN, and they paid for those enrollments. So there's always creative solutions, and there's always ways we can find to work both with the Chamber Foundation and together to truly upskill your team.
So I think we probably have far exceeded our time, Sarah, but I wanted to just offer if there's any questions that you can even throw them in the chat, and I'll try to answer those, or we would take those even with Melissa here, as from her experience as a trainer working with already a company within the Otter Tail region. So that's us. That's a great opportunity. I think we often get what's the catch, and the catch is that we really are trying to upskill individuals. So there really isn't a catch, which we can't pay for housing and we can't pay for an in-house trainer. Those are the two.
And loss of labor.
And loss of labor. Thank you, Brenna. Yep.
Yeah, well, thank you guys all for joining today. Like you said, Jane, our reaction was this seems too good to be true before we met with you guys. And after talking, I mean, we haven't sent anyone through the process yet, so can't speak to that. But from what Melissa is talking about, does sound very, very simple and very streamlined. You guys have obviously done a lot of your homework here before getting to us to make this as simple as possible for employers. So appreciate you guys joining today.
Thank you, Sarah. So next steps, if you're interested, please reach out to us, check out our website, and we would love to have a conversation about how we can help you upskill and even onboard more individuals into your workforce.
Fantastic. Yeah. And if folks do have questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. Just in the essence of time, I think we'll move on to our next speakers, but we can definitely get back to those questions at the end here as well. So with that, thank you guys again. And I am going to transition to our next speaker, which is LaRohn from Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. And Naomi is here to share some information as well about their Registered Apprenticeship Programs and the availability of those throughout the state and how employers can leverage those to do some training and upskilling as well. So I will turn it over to LaRohn.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for your energy, your time, and your interest in registered apprenticeship. My name is LaRohn Latimer, Senior Field Representative with the Department of Labor and Industry, responsible for promoting and developing apprenticeship programs in high growth sectors or sectors outside of construction. I did put the DLI website in the chat so that if you have questions, if you want to find out how to be an apprentice, or for employers to find out how to further engage the process, you can certainly go to the website. I'll share more on that at the end of the discussion. With that, I believe I'm here on the heels of my partner in success, Leslie Philman, who did some extraordinary work in bringing forward a program for early childhood teachers or childcare teachers. And so with that, let me just do a little crash course or 101 on registered apprenticeship. Next slide, please. So what is registered apprenticeship? Well, I'm always going to give you the answer. It is at the bottom of the screen. It is a time-tested model to recruit, train, and retain a highly skilled and diverse workforce. I want to emphasize recruit. If you are a business owner or you're in human resources, you're on this call. As a former senior human resources generalist that's worked for some of the largest companies in the world, and I consider myself at the time a master recruiter, it is much easier to bring folks into your organization when you are very intentional about their progress and helping them get from where they are to where they like to be with a well-constructed and orchestrated plan. That is the essence of registered apprenticeship. Let me talk a little bit about retention. I promise you, whenever you're able to give developmental feedback on a routine basis and engage those folks at the next level, it is much easier to keep them from going across the street for 25 cents an hour more when you really connect them with resources more specifically, and a well-orchestrated training plan, and supervisors and mentors that are all about their successes. So there are 5 components to registered apprenticeship. I'm just going to briefly touch on them. Of course, it starts with employment from day one. They have a job day one. They are generally full-time from a labor standards perspective. That's 32 hours per week. They are benefits eligible. That is the key. They are benefits eligible. And oftentimes 18 years of age or older with a high school diploma or a GED. The second component is the structured on-the-job training. That is a minimum of 2,000 hours, and is always accompanied by a mentoring component. Now, it's occupation specific, so notice I said minimum, keeping in mind that the essence or the idea of registered apprenticeship is to develop subject matter experts or journey workers. So if the occupation requires 4,000 hours or 8,000 hours to become that subject matter expert, the on-the-job training schedule will reflect that. The third component is the related technical instruction. That's just the technical, theoretical, or the book learning that supports their day-to-day hands-on activities. It can look a lot of different ways. Businesses have a lot of flexibility here. After all, they own the apprenticeship program. It can be e-learning, it can be a curriculum that they've developed internally or come from Minnesota State colleges and universities, or any combination of those. But that related instruction is generally 144 hours per year, which equates to about 3 hours per week that person is studying to become, again, that subject matter expert. Then there's the progressive wage schedule. All that is pay for skills gained. As the apprentice gains more experience, more competence, contributes more to the bottom line, it's only fair that they commensurately receive more dough. We don't dictate wages. However, the Department of Labor and Industry will only bring forward programs that pay a family-sustaining wage. And in the metropolitan area, that's about $19.50 per hour. We use Deed's labor market table to assign appropriate wages for outstate areas. And then last but not least, there is that credential that evidences subject matter expertise. We are authorized to issue that on behalf of the United States Department of Labor. It is recognized in 50 out of 50 states, the UK, Australia, Canada, and US territories. So registered apprenticeship is the equivalent of a 2 or 4 year degree, depending upon your course of or your career aspirations. Next slide, please. So additional career pathways. We know that, and I've been corrected in a number of meetings. I always speak to a worker shortage, and I've got folks in healthcare and other sectors telling me that there's a worker crisis. And so it's important to have additional career pathways. And of course, registered apprenticeship creates those pathways where post-secondary education has typically been preferred. It really allows individuals facing multiple barriers, as we heard earlier, to really train for in-demand occupations that pay family-sustaining wages and really look to take advantage of opportunities to advance their skills and their career. Next slide, please. This is a slide that really says the same thing. However, I left it in because quite literally, with the crisis at hand, employers don't have 2 to 4 years to wait to fill their hiring pipeline. And if you're like me, you get a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and then you go to work for an insurance company as a claims adjuster and realize that the environment is so adversarial that you didn't like it. Well, I've got to turn and do something different. So at least you know you have folks when you have a registered apprenticeship program that are predisposed to that occupation and your culture, if you will. Next slide, please. Registered versus non-registered. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, except to say registered apprenticeship programs are programs of quality and rigor. They serve to generate or develop subject matter experts or journey workers. Anybody can go in their basement and create a program, and it may be a good program, it may be a crap program. It doesn't have stackable credentials, and it's not necessarily governed by industry recognized panels. So with a registered program, you'll always have on-the-job training. You'll always have related instruction program. You'll always have a progressive wage schedule. And again, you'll always get that nationally recognized credential. It also, if you look at the last bullet point under registered programs, you also position yourself to receive state benefits, be compensated for engaging veterans, WIOA funding, 529, et cetera. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot from 2023. Keep in mind that all of this is fluid, and these numbers, I look forward to updating you here one day soon when we get 2024 numbers. But I think the thing to really pay attention to here is the active apprenticeship at 11,000 and the completions, 1,598 in 2023 alone. That's pretty, things are moving along post-COVID quite well in terms of recovery for registered apprenticeship. Next slide, please. So the value proposition, what's in it for you as an employer? What's in it for you as a human resources professional? And even as somebody looking to get into the workforce? We've talked about the crises. It's important more than ever for folks to build and shape their own workforce, or grow your own at least. You do create new skilled worker pathways. We've got a number of folks in the healthcare sector that have taken individuals from the reception desk, and they've always wanted to kind of move forward, and they're now surge techs, or they're now dental assistants or medical assistants, taking workers from the dock, and they're now CNC machinists. So again, that new skilled worker pathway is really yet another option to fill the hiring pipeline. Here's the key: workers produce as they train. Improve productivity with related instruction. We've got workers that are taking courses, coming back to the shop floor or the work environment. And these new technologies are spreading as you've got incumbent workers looking over their shoulder and marveling at how they're now doing things in a different fashion. Reduced employee turnover, I already spoke to that. Relationships drive retention. And again, it's important to make sure you capture the knowledge before it walks out the door. And as we know, there are incentives to hire veterans and others. With workers, again, mastering in-demand skills, wage increases with progress. And I spoke to a little bit earlier, a very intentional way of onboarding, communicating with and engaging them at the highest level. Next slide, please. I actually thought about taking this slide out because I don't know what the $28 in benefits for every $1 invested means. But when we look at return on investment, that is key. $1.47 for every dollar invested. The average registered apprentice earns $77,000 upon graduation. And it says 93% of them have a job upon completion. The reality is 100% of them have a job upon completion because the apprenticeship is the job. It's whether or not the employer chooses to keep them on beyond that. Next slide, please. This is the contact information. This is how to get in touch with us, along with the information I put in the chat. If you're interested in registered apprenticeship, we've got a very easy 2-page word fillable application that you can email and request. It'll probably take you 5 minutes to fill out, and we will work to help you get from where you are to where you'd like to be. If you are, here's my ask. If you're talking with employers and they're saying, gosh, look, we can't find people, or we're having trouble keeping people, just ask the simple question: have you considered registered apprenticeship? And if they say, I hadn't thought of that, give them my number. We'll connect. We'll do good things for them. Not only that, last but not least, I've got 4.7 million reasons for you to keep in touch. We recently secured a grant. We call it the SAFE to Competitive Grant, SAEF to Competitive Grant, $4.7 million to serve as seed money to help businesses get engaged in the apprenticeship model. Keep in mind, it doesn't cost anything to get into apprenticeship or to start an apprenticeship program. However, if you have some upstart internal costs or pay for related instruction, a host of other things, that money could serve your turn. With that, I will stop talking. Thank you again for your interest and your time. I'll take questions if that's appropriate.
Yeah, if anyone's got a pressing question for LaRohn, I think we can pause for those. Just because, you know, it's again probably seems too good to be true, but this one's maybe a little bit more complex just because of, like you said, LaRohn, those 5 different components. And maybe just a question to talk through. You're obviously an expert in this. What other sort of help is available for employers that are interested in trying to build a registered apprenticeship program? Do they get to work with you through the entire process? What does that kind of assistance look like?
Well, the demand for apprenticeship programs has skyrocketed like you wouldn't believe. And so there are now 3 of us with a 4th individual coming on. And we specifically work with businesses to help them get from where they are to where they'd like to be. Of course, we don't reinvent the wheel. As a matter of fact, we warrant or we guarantee that within 90 days of receiving all the information we require, we will do the heavy lifting and build that apprenticeship program with you. After all it's going to do is reflect your best practices and the way you want to move forward in upskilling and training your folks. So most businesses are already doing some of it. They just haven't memorialized their best practices. And yes, reach out to me, fill out the application, and within 4 30-minute meetings, you will have a document called the Standards of Apprenticeship that reflects your best practices and way forward for training certain occupations.
All right, folks, that sounds pretty easy. I see a couple of questions that came in the chat, but any other questions for LaRohn or anything else you want to add, LaRohn?
No, I'm looking at the chat here, trying to see if there are questions I need to answer immediately. Is registered apprenticeship? Oh, thank you. Registered apprenticeship is available statewide. Um, you know, does it work for small businesses or big businesses? It works for big and small businesses alike. After all, if you're a small business, you want to build your bench strength and capture the knowledge before it walks out the door. If you're a larger business, you want to make sure you have a uniform and consistent way to upskill those individuals, as opposed to if your name is Joe or Jane, I apologize, but go follow Joe, go follow Jane. Method for training is maybe not as optimal as having competencies to check or balance against. Let's see, is registered apprenticeship available? Yes. Okay. Other questions before I turn it back to Sarah?
All right. Well, hearing none, if there are any additional ones as you're thinking and processing, feel free to drop those in the chat. We'll hopefully have a little bit of time here at the end. But I am going to transition to our next speakers here. So like I mentioned at the front end, hopefully folks are familiar. We've been talking about youth skills training for 2 years as the county was a grant recipient. I think it was 2 rounds ago now, and had 2 years to implement with our youth workforce navigation program. Now that that program has wrapped up, the really good news is, or at the county level, our direct involvement has wrapped up. The really good news is that 3 of our Ottertail County schools were awarded the youth skills training grant in this current round. So as you can see here, Fergus Falls, Perham, and Parker's Prairie were all awarded a grant. And so just with the school year kicking off, and I'm sure all of our teachers on today are busy and overwhelmed with the first couple weeks of school. So I appreciate all 3 of you jumping on and spending some time with us today, but wanted to invite them in and kind of share what their plans are with work-based learning and career exploration for this school year, and then how employers can engage with that, because I know they probably have some excited students to do some job shadowing or internships or field trips or all sorts of things. So I think we'll just go in the order on the screen here, and we'll start off with Eli from Fergus Falls.
Hey everybody. I guess I don't know where to begin, but we're 2 weeks into the school year, and today's the first day that my students are starting their internships as part of the work-based learning program. So I got some students doing drywall. I got a bunch at the hospital, some in a beauty salon, kind of all over the place. And I think it's my job to put these kids where they want to be and give them some opportunities to check out something new. Real estate, dental. Yeah, once again, they're all over the place, and I'm excited to hear how their first day at work goes. We do have one student who's working over at Innova. There is a lot of limitations on what a student can and can't use for equipment as far as safety, but if they're YST certified, then they can. So he's 17 years old and he's welding over at Innova and he really enjoys it. He's considering a career in manufacturing after this. So it's good to see. Likewise, in our community, Ziegler has just been approved for YST. So I have another student who will be over there working on heavy equipment this winter. And we're working on getting Swanston approved in town here, hopefully this week. So good things. And if we can get more businesses on board, it opens up a lot more opportunities. As a former shop teacher, I mean, these students in the wood shop, metal shop, auto shop, they get to use all these tools and equipment already. So if we can get them out of school and into these businesses, it'd be nice if they can continue to use power tools, and it's a great program.
Great update so far, and it's so exciting to hear that you got some more YST employers. With that, I don't know if folks remember, but YST is specific to a couple of industries. So Eli, do you have what are those industries that you're kind of focused on with the youth skills training funding? And I know students' interests are broad, and I'm sure you have interns, like you said, a beauty shop. That one's probably not falling under YST. So can you tell us what industries you're focusing on with the grant funding?
Well, and the big ones in our neighborhood are RDO, which would fall under precision ag, Innova Manufacturing, which is manufacturing, Shoremaster is another one, Vector would be manufacturing, Brunswick, which is Lund Boats, that's manufacturing as well. So a lot of them are manufacturing, and sorry about that. But yeah, it sounds like when I did some digging, YST can be applied to medical and nursing homes as well. And so maybe students would have more opportunities to use like the automatic lifts and whatnot if these companies can show their safety procedures, I guess. So I guess I would say agriculture and manufacturing are the biggest ones from our perspective.
Yeah, great to hear. So thanks, Eli. I'm gonna turn it over to Darren. He's gonna talk us through what Perham is kind of focusing on here with YST and work-based learning this year. If folks do have questions for any of our schools specifically, feel free to drop those in the chat as Darren is talking as well. But Darren, can you walk us through what Perham's got planned?
Sure. So specific, our YST grant includes manufacturing, healthcare, IT, and ag are the areas we're focusing on for career exploration. In Perham, we implemented last year a school-wide strategy called Diploma Plus. And what that means is our goal is to have every student, high school student, by the time they leave Perham schools, will have something in addition to the diploma. So that could be a certification, work-based learning experience, an internship, job shadow, and a variety of different certifications that they could get, whether it be forklift, CNA. We are even working on, or we have students right now that are getting the referee certification, so that by the time they graduate, they should be able to make some additional money out there with some referee. But with the YST grant, what we're going to do is kind of expand, Sarah, from what we were able to do last year and continue to do some exposures to industries in the area. And hopefully we can work together to do that. We're going to expand our CDL program. We're able to purchase some driving simulators as well, and continue with our working with our industry and our partners this year. Part of our YST grant was also able to expand the position a little bit so that we have personnel in our school that has the time to reach out and make connections with the businesses in town, which seems to be very beneficial to our students. Couple other things. It's one of the questions you'd ask is how can employers that are out there listening engage in school opportunities? obviously host a work-based learning student or host an intern. I see that we have Perm Hospital and KLN on the Zoom call today. They've been very good at helping us and getting students in there and working with our kids. It's been a great experience on both ends. We will have a Career and Tech Expo here in Perm again. I guess just hosting things. And finally, we were able to, with our YST grant, able to get some externships. So we have a few teachers that were able to get into our local businesses and just kind of see what's going on and see what they need and what level of, student can, be able to talk, so to speak. So if they're in a classroom, they say, if you want to work here, here's some of the opportunities that are out there. Because I spent a week there this summer, and he can be able to promote that a little bit. We're also looking at a little bit differently with the money that we have at doing career fairs. In the past, we'd load all the kids up on a bus and we'd take them to a career fair. Well, a lot of those kids, weren't interested in what was being offered, or that's not the avenue they wanted to take. So this year we're going to specifically, whether it be transportation or trades or healthcare, we're going to target those kids and take smaller groups and to take them to various career fairs in the area, or manufacturing exposure. So yeah, it should be good. We're excited.
That's really awesome to hear, especially those externships. That wasn't something that we ever got to do with our youth skills training grant, but that one I bet is really interesting for teachers to live a day in the life in a manufacturing business or a healthcare business and just get that different perspective to come back and share with students. So that's really exciting to hear. All right. We've got Jim from Parker's Prairie on as well, so I'm going to invite him to kind of jump on and share. Similar questions for you, Jim. What are your guys' plans with YST dollars? What do you need from employers as far as engaging with students?
Good morning, Sarah, and thanks for having me and for putting this together. If there's a town on your slide that you haven't heard of, it's probably Parker's Prairie. One of these does not belong. We're a much smaller community of about 1,000 people in the very southeast corner of Otter County. As such, our primary employment base is actually Alexandria. And so one of my goals is to take the model that Sarah and Amy Johnson built in Otter County and expand that to take advantage of that employment sector. But we certainly are interested in creating more exposure, not only within Otter County, but beyond that. So to the folks that are Red River Valley, we welcome opportunities to come and tour facilities. I have recently taken over with the help of Dustin Steenblock, I think is also on this call, acquired the work-based learning licensure. So I'm now in charge of the career seminar and work-based learning programs in our school, which allows me the opportunity to bring in guest speakers with quite a lot of flexibility. So if you have someone on your team that's passionate about just sharing opportunities with high school students, more than welcome to get those folks in our school and in front of our students. Locally, we've partnered with St. William's Living Center, which is a highly accredited nursing home facility. We've got several students that are employed there. Some are as CNAs, some are dietary aides, but we're really focused on creating more pathways into healthcare. Have at least 2 of those students who have already knocked out most of their hours for what will be a pre-physical therapy track. They're a year or even 2 years ahead of the game in terms of that program. So the model has proven to work. We're just looking to get more students to recognize that opportunity. So our ask of employers is help us create exposure opportunities. Because of our location, the actual employment and internship are a little more challenging, but we're going to double down on exposure and try to find creative ways to get those students in those workplace settings as much as possible.
Great. Yeah, and I think one of the really exciting things for us when the county was super involved in the program was seeing all of those schools come together. And like you said, Jim, getting out of city boundaries, right? Like our students in Parker's Prairie can absolutely go to Perham to tour a business there. And like you said, they may not be able to go there for an internship every day just with the commute, and they've got, other classes to get to during the day. But I think really that exposure opportunity of the field trips or the job shadows, or even having a representative from an employer come into the classroom, that was something really exciting that we got to see with our program, and hopefully all 3 schools can continue that as well, of getting outside of their city boundaries and seeing what else is out there. So, and I will ask anything else from you, the 3 of you, that you want to add. Otherwise, I'll open it up for questions from the crowd as well. As far as, what can they do to help you? Who should they reach out to? Like Darren, you said you maybe have some additional capacity. Is there another staff person at the school that they should reach out to? Or are you guys the right contacts? But anything else to add from the 3 of you?
I just threw something in the chat, just how we're using the funds. But yeah, our automotive students are getting SP2 certified. All of the work-based learning students are getting OSHA 10 certified. We bought a bunch of new equipment, college visits. We're making some kind of a brochure for our CT programs. So just to make sure I'm covering the bases.
I see M-State was listed as a partner. We actually have an M-State rep in the building right now meeting with students. They have been putting out a lot of great opportunities in high demand fields, and so we're using those funds rather than asking the student to find their own means and transportation to get there. We can get them there. The number of students interested is growing, and that same model can work for employers as well. So if you want to get students in your facility, we can find ways to get them there. That was a big obstacle to overcome.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's kind of nice to have that, and not put the financial burden back on the school with the transportation and the bus and the vans and things that we need to do there. Another thing I'm excited about is between Eli and Jim and myself, and I think even Vern from Detroit Lakes, we're going to form a little bit of a cohort that's going to get together and bounce ideas off each other. Maybe we can all work together, because I think we all kind of have the same goal in mind, with exposure to careers out there. So we're looking forward to maybe putting our heads together to see what we can all do.
Great to hear as well. Yeah. Just wanted to point out in the chat, so LaRohn actually made a comment, and this is a really good point because it's both DLI programs, like I think I mentioned at the front end, that YST and apprenticeship are really well positioned to transition that student from high school into learning after high school, and employment after high school. So wanted to point that out for folks too, that both those programs are well positioned to work together with each other. So Amy Johnson, I'm going to put you on the spot with the 5 minutes that we've got left. Being that you are so involved with the Youth Skills Training Program the last couple of years, and hearing from our 3 teachers, anything else to add as far as engagement that employers can offer, how you can, just any learnings that you had in your 2 years that you'd want to share with anyone on the call today?
Well, Sarah, hello, everybody. So excited to see everybody here today in support of all 3 of these initiatives. And our goal at the very beginning of our project was to have sustainability and to have just the schools and the coalition of the employers, schools, and community partners carry it forward. So I'm just excited to see that that's happening. They're doing it. They're doing exactly what our goal was. So had no doubts that it was possible, and just really proud of what's happening.
Yeah, so everyone on the call that has engaged in any way with some of the youth workforce navigation work or YST grants, please give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause. It is really exciting to see the work continue and sustain beyond the 2 years of the county's involvement, and likely now beyond the 2 years of each of these schools' YST awards. So it's really, really great to see. We're excited. All right. Any final questions? Otherwise, we've got everyone's contact information here on the screen from today. Like I said, a really full house of presentations and lots of information today. I will be sending out the slides, the recording of today. So if you want to go back and think about any of the information that was shared today, or can't quite remember what Jim said about transportation, you can review that or watch the recording again. But write down anyone's email that we've got here, and we'll make sure to include them on the follow-up note as well. But I want to thank you everyone for taking the time today. And we'll stay on for a couple minutes here with our speakers for any final questions. But thanks again for joining. And thanks again to all of our speakers. We really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm super impressed with all the information that was shared today, and hopefully everyone's soaking it in and he'll have questions for you after the fact. So,
Sarah, I put in the chat an event West Central Initiative is sponsoring. It's about the latest data on immigration in our 9-county area.
okay. Is that, oh, I see that's today?
It's
No.
Tuesday, October 15th.
Okay. Is there another event today, Rick? I thought I saw something on promotions
it
about
was postponed from this afternoon to
okay.
October 15th.
Okay, that's news.
That
That's
just
good
happened.
news.
Yeah, news to me too.
Well, it gives folks a chance to join. If they weren't aware of it, now they'll be aware of it and they can sign up. So thanks for sharing the info.
All right.
Thanks again
y'all.
for the opportunity, Sarah.
Thanks, Jane, for jumping on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Eli.
Have a good one. Good to see you all.
You too. Thanks, guys.